What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Nothing But Skills, and in today's video we are going to be breaking down the sniper build I use for my speed runs. So when I run the speed run, I am one of the snipers. We have 3 of these snipers. Now remember, when you guys take in consideration with any of these builds I do during the speed run, you guys have to remember there are 8 different players on the team, so we are running different builds. But we do have 3 snipers, the snipers that take the shot. So this technically is probably what you're going to see from all 3 of us snipers if you were to inspect our builds. Some might have better roles, but at the end this is pretty much what we are running. We do have aces and 8s, and we do have a tip of the spear on the 8-man group, and then all the other builds are different. So that is just something you guys need to keep in mind when you guys make this build if you feel like it doesn't hit as hard. This build can potentially hit up to 24 million on a shot, which is pretty crazy, and that is what is very impressive about this build. Also, you don't even need all 3 players to hit. As long as 2 players hit, the 3rd player's shot might hit, but it might not even get counted. But yeah, you only need 2 of the 3 players to hit to 1 shot. But let's break down the build itself, right? So we are running 11 offensive, we are running 1 defensive, and 5 utility. Now our armor is at 217,000. Our health is at 30,000, and we're running around 800, 700 skill power. Now, the only weapon that you need to worry about on this build is going to be the Nemesis, because that is what you need. So if you don't have it, you need to go for it. Our Nemesis is at 586,000. Now, that's going to be the one weapon we need because it's 1 shot and Boomer will drop. Now, you only need 2 snipers to run it. So we're going to get into the build itself since we don't really have to talk about the weapons. We are going to be running a Gilligard mask. Now this needs to have perfect spotter on here. Get the highest damage to elite roll you can get. We have 51% right here. We have skill haste on here. I would ideally get that because you want your skills to come back quicker so you can swap out your builds as you get to the next point. Remember, I run 5 different builds in the raid. Now perfect spotter gives us that 20% weapon damage, and then we have a utility mod slot on here, so that gives us another utility. So we're knocking out 2 utilities here. But I recommend putting skill haste versus skill power on the rolls when you do roll on a utility, because that is ideally going to give you that 5 utility for perfect spotter. On the chest, you definitely want to get the Heraldi chest. You're going to run 3 pieces of Heraldi, 10% accuracy, 10% headshot damage, 10% marksman rifle damage. We have headshot damage on here and weapon damage. The higher the headshot damage, the higher the weapon damage, the stronger you're going to be and the better you're going to be for your team. You want to try to get perfect vigilance because perfect vigilance is going to have 5% more weapon damage than regular vigilance. So that's 30% weapon damage, and you just need 7 or more offensive. And as long as you take no damage, which you shouldn't be if you're lining up for Boomer, well, that's where you're going to get that extra 30% damage. And then it has an offensive mod slot, so we're going to get weapon damage, we're going to get damage to health, and we're going to get 5% marksman rifle damage. So on this build, just a lot of damage coming straight from the chest piece. I finally got a headshot damage that was around 13%, but ideally I'm still looking for one that maybe, hopefully I can get one that has like, get a god roll with like 20% headshot damage, and then I can roll like 15% weapon damage. It does have a defensive mod slot on here, and you can run any defensive mod slot. It doesn't really matter because we're not taking any damage and it's going so quick. You don't have to worry about armor and you don't have to worry about health. So just put whatever you want on there. I have one that has armor, total armor, and health on it. Doesn't really matter. We get into the holster. The holster is going to be Alps. We're going to be running 2 pieces of Alps, and this is going to give us 20% skill haste, 10% skill power. And then ideally you want to put your highest crit chance roll on here. So if you have those 16% crit chance rolls, roll that on here. You want to have precise for that 15% headshot damage. And then the great thing about this Alps holster is we get a utility mod and an offensive mod. So we're able to get 1 more utility, pushing us to 3 utility, and then we get an offensive mod that's going to give us 5% marksman rifle damage, 1% weapon damage. So you guys already see where the damage is coming from. We have a lot of damage just on 3 pieces right off the bat. We have precise, perfect vigilance, and perfect spotter. Plus we have some weapon damage rolls on there, damage to elite rolls. You just start adding that up, the damage is there. Now we get into the knee pads. We have our second piece of Heraldi, so that's where we're getting a 10% headshot damage. We're going to roll skill haste on here. Like I told you, it allows us to get our skills back quicker so we can change them as we get through each section of the raid. So we do have composure on here. While on cover, you get 10% total weapon damage. You do have to have 11 or more offensive, so we have that, right? We have 11 offensive, so we have composure, so another 10% total weapon damage. And then we do have an offensive mod slot on here that's going to give us marksman rifle damage and weapon damage. Now we get into the gloves. The gloves are the gloves you're going to want to go with because you're going to be able to get an offensive mod and get a red roll. So we have 13% marksman rifle damage here. We have Wicked, which is going to give us 15% weapon damage for 20 seconds when you apply a status effect. And we're going to do that, and that only requires 4 more offensive. And we have an offensive mod, 5% marksman rifle damage, 1% weapon damage. So a total of an additional 6% damage right there. And applying Wicked is going to be easy for us because we are running the Stinger Hive. But don't worry, we will dive into that in just a second. But yeah, the damage is there. The final piece that's going to just top off the damage is the third piece of virality. So we get that 10% marksman rifle damage. We're going to put weapon damage on here. Then we have critical hit damage. We have hard hitting, we have sparked, and then we have a utility mod. Ideally, what I would like to do is take off that critical hit damage there, put skill haste or skill power, and then have an offensive mod because I'll be able to gain more weapon damage. I really don't need to have critical hit damage there, and I really don't need to have critical hit chance there. It could help me because I have that 16% on the holster, but ideally if I could get the yellow wood right there and then get another 6% weapon damage on the offensive mod, I would want that. But this is how I have my build, so you can just min-max it, find the exact talents you need. You definitely want hard hitting for that 25% weapon damage to elites, and then you want spark because that gives you 15% extra weapon damage for 15 seconds. So you stack all that weapon damage that you have on this build, and that's why you hit really hard. We get into the skills. So I am running the Stinger Hive. You don't have to worry about any of the mods on it. Just get a basic Stinger Hive, put that on there, and that's going to pair up with Wicked. So Wicked, Sparked will be triggered by the Stinger Hive, and that's why you want to have this, because you throw it right in front of the door like you saw, and I'll show you another clip of it and I'll explain it. So in this clip right here, you see I throw out the Stinger Hive right where Boomer is going to come out, right? So I'm in position. Not only am I getting composure, but I'm in position. I'm just waiting for him to come out. As soon as he comes out, the Stinger Hive, you're going to see it go off, and then that's when you're going to see me get Wicked, and you're also going to see me get Sparked. So I get both of those talents, and I'm able to get the most damage out of my shot. For the secondary, you can run the pulse if you want, but you really don't need to because you have tip of the spear on there. And then I just have a chem launcher on, but you can run anything you really want. But ideally, the one you need to have is the Stinger Hive. That's the one out of this whole build. You need to have that one skill. Remember, we're using the Nemesis. We're going to take a look at the stats with the Nemesis equipped just to show you my overall stats. We go down to the critical hit chance. That's going to be at 13.5%, 46% critical hit damage. We have 217% headshot damage. And then if we keep going down, we're going to see how much all weapon damage we have at 28%. We keep going down, 58% marksman rifle damage. And then at the very bottom, 91% damage to elites. So if you stack that damage to elites, you stack all that weapon damage, that marksman rifle damage, with the little bit of crit chance we have, the headshot damage, that critical hit damage. It's just a lot of damage that you can put out, and the potential to hit that hard is there, right? It's there, and it's just because of all the talents that we have equipped on this build. So Perfect Spotter is giving us that 20% weapon damage. We have Wicked that's giving us 15% weapon damage. We have Spark that's giving us 15% weapon damage. We have Composure that's giving us 10% weapon damage. We have Precise, 15% headshot damage. And then we have Perfect Vigilance, gain 30% weapon damage. Having all of those talents, you can see where all the damage is coming from. And then you pair that up with a nice Aces and Eights build and a nice Tip of the Spear build, and you're just going to be putting out really, really big numbers. But this is build 1 of 5, 3-piece Heraldry, 2-piece Alps, and a 1-piece Gilligard, and that is the build overall. This is how you do it. Remember, I said we have 3 snipers. You really only need 2 snipers to hit them, to drop them. The 3rd sniper is just there in case one of the other shots don't register or someone tends to miss the shot. You have that backup plan. So this is how we run it. This is how I run it when I run with the speed team that I run it with, and this is the typically this is going to be what your snipers are running. So I hope this helps you guys out. If you guys have any questions, I'll be trying to drop at least every build that I've ran in the speed run There's 5 different ones, so I'll be making 5 different videos on this channel. So on the gaming channel, if you guys are interested in this, make sure you guys leave a like, drop a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you guys again. Until the next video, nothing but skills is out.